Hello everybody. This is a video about how the lovely photographs that you are taking in detail of species can be made more useful to the larger community. I'll use Flickr as an example, but the idea that these are generalities that can be used with any sort of presentation of photos on any kind of platform. The idea being, can you find them? Can other people find them? Can they be used? So why do this? The idea is that we generally lack museum access these days. And if we do have museum access, it's under often limited circumstances. You have to make time, you have to set up times that you can visit the museum, and there's distances to travel, and there's actually just fewer museums available that have good collections of bees identified to species that visitors can visit. And also I'll note that a lot of times the novice, the beginner, is hesitant to go visit to a museum. Scary curators live there. So having it online, having good high quality shots that help with identification is going to be really useful to a wide variety of people, including the professionals. So there's tagging issues. So when looking at a picture, the first thing to do is when you name the picture, you should have as the first part of the name the genus and species. Genus space species, comma, or another space. And then if you're putting things up on the web, as it's encouraged on web pages, you should have alt tags on there that also have genus and species as the first part of the alt tag. And you shouldn't add a whole lot of alt tags because those get downgraded by the algorithms that Google search and things looks at. So you really want to focus on what the key thing is, which is basically, here's the genus and species of a picture. I want it to be found. There's machine tagging, which was developed, I believe, by the Encyclopedia of Life and is used heavily within the Flickr world in particular, but I think other locations too, and it allows for more rigorous transformation or transformation of pictures from one site to the other, and tells it explicitly what it is that you have, and you have made a very specific effort to declare the genus and species, not just accidental that in the title somewhere was a genus and species name, which may or may not reflect what was in the picture. So those are useful to add within those worlds because it's going to upgrade the reliability of those pictures being found and what it's going to be identified as. Hashtags in the social media world are useful. The difficulty is that sometimes an individual social media group, so Instagram only allows one word to be hashtagged, so you can't have a genus space species hashtag because that's two words. So you would have to combine them, which may or may not be findable later by other groups, or you have to do an underscore or some other kind of shenanigan to get it to be recognized within that space. And you see relatively little Instagram photos out there for availability. Others, like Tumblr and things, do allow more complex hashtags. So, and again, when you're looking at a picture and you're putting it on social media and it is a species one, and particularly one that you want other people to see, don't put in a whole ton of hashtags because the algorithm downgrades that picture if it looks like you're jamming too many hashtags in there, trying to play the system, so to speak. Domains. So public domain is the default as the least rigorous in terms of requirements for the user end of the spectrum. And there are many, as you can see from this slide on Flickr, many other options. The thing is, though, that each time you add these with attributions or all these complexities, it decreases the number of times that photo is going to be used. That's a problem sometimes, and you have to ask yourself, who cares whether my photo is used by groups like this? So here's a photo of ours, and you can see it's stock photo groups of several kinds are the top users of that particular photo. You also get into crazy stuff like this, which is probably impossible to stop in terms of their uses. But in the reality is, people can find your photo. It's being used a lot. It's being seen. It's being appreciated as many times as possible. Sometimes it's attributed to you, sometimes those attributions get lost, but the number of times they're used can be huge. Here's our November report from just a sample, because we didn't pay them anything, of our pictures. So they're using about 1,000 pictures, and they're saying, well, how many times have those been replicated in the last month by someone other than Flickr? And the answer was there were nearly 15,000 new examples on the web of those pictures being used in one way or another. It would be, 5 times that much if we included the entire slide deck. So they do get used. I think we're up to 66 million views alone just on Flickr. So it really pays to be liberal, have good tagging, and to expand that out. I'll wrap it up here. 2 more slides to say that really we want people to participate in curating some of the photos that are out there. If they're public domain or if they're yours, we can link them to the species pages on Discover Life, which are heavily used and often pop up first, because we also try to get the literature in there. I think Claire Maffei has mentioned this too, something that we can open up to people who are interested in adding photos, adding more of the literature and other information on individual species to these pages. And then you have it in one place. You can go there and look at these photos, and you know that at least there's been some selection, rather than say on iNaturalist and a couple of the other sites where they may be identified to species, but they may not be the best quality. Finally, my very last one is, and this is a good example from Dave Kappert, who's been starting to do this now and put them up for many people to use, which is, it's lovely to have great pictures of identified bees, but it's even lovelier to have great pictures of identified bees with particular identification features identified on there that trip us up. New and old people in taxonomy and in the identification world could use some help in finding the feature that is listed within a key or a guide, and this is one way to do it. I'll stop there. Thank you very much.